Good evening, application cohort. Welcome to the October application cohort. This one is meant to help you with processing your exams and having questions about that. So what we're going to do today with the group that's here in person and the group that's here online is that we're going to go over as much information as we possibly can in regards to that. So this is the agenda for tonight. We're going to talk about how do we determine if you have to take a test or not. We're also going to look at entrance exam steps, what you need to take. This is one of the few times that I actually want you to have a checklist. You can check a box on this one. I promise you can check a box on this one. So we're going to go through these steps tonight. So activity. I'm going to put a link in the chat. I'm also going to share it on the screen. Please go take this quick assessment. It doesn't take very much time. It could take you like 3 minutes. It's all picture oriented. There's a little thing to pull it up. There we go. Can you all see that in the room? So I put it in the chat so you can click on the link. Do you guys see that one? It's ARDEN period AC period UK / what hyphen type hyphen learner hyphen R hyphen U. So take that assessment real quick. It will spit out, it will produce once you submit the quiz, it's 10 questions, it goes by really, really fast. It will spit out what type of learner you are. And once you've identified that, those of you in the Zoom room, once you have that, go ahead and put it in the chat, what type of learner you are. And then I'll have you go rate what type of learner they are by their path once they get going. So those of you in the room, once you get it, just raise your hand. And then those of you in the room, just put it in the chat once you get your what you are. Maybe. I don't think she's here today. She's not on Monday. Monday and Tuesday is just. So again, once you get one picked, once it spits it out for you, put it in the chat. Okay.
Are you done?
You guys got them? She's gonna come over and
Come right on the table.
so wait on Nick. Ooh. Come on. Come on, Graf. kinesthetic?
Yep.
Okay. Well, darn. Okay, so I'm going to put Nick, I'm going to put you in with the auditory folks just because of, and you can kind of share your perspective. And then Graph, I haven't seen your response, so I'm just going to put you in with them as well. Okay.
I go with visual. That might be a little better fit for me.
Who, Nick?
Yeah, Nick with visual.
Okay, that works.
Thanks.
Yep. All right, I'm going to put you guys into breakout rooms. You get 5 minutes. Share, take like 30 seconds to 40 seconds and talk about strategies that you use as a visual learner, as an auditory learner, as a kinesthetic learner. Okay, so I'm going to open the breakout rooms and then I'm going to ask auditory, aesthetic. Ooh.
Oh, I spelled it wrong.
So I'm going to have you come over here real quick and just chat with somebody. So all right, I'm going to pause. All right, as we're all coming back, I think we should all be back by now. Almost there. Yeah, perfect. Oh. We got three hanging out. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And what I wanted to do was the reason why I did this activity for you all was I wanted you to be thinking about how you study best. What are some of the strategies that you use when you study, and how you can use those to your benefit when you're thinking about these entrance exams that you need to produce. So as we go through this information, I want you to have that in your head. I want you to be thinking about, okay, I'm this kind of a learner. How can I use that to my benefit? So before you even begin to even consider taking an entrance exam, some things that you need to think about is that they cost money. You also need to think about which entrance exam you actually need to take. Some of you are dental, some of you are med, some of you are PA, OT, whatever it might be. So you'll notice I made you trusty little chart. It says, okay, if you are applying to medical school, you're going to take the MCAT. There isn't anything around it. That's what you're going to do. If you're going to dental school, you're going to take the DAT. Okay. If you're going to optometry school, you're going to take the OAP. Okay. So some other things to be thinking about. This isn't the stuff. This isn't the last thing you're going to do. You're going to take this entrance exam. And then you're also going to need to think about some other types of exams that they might have you take to apply. Something called the CASPER. It is a behavioral situation judgment test. It's your how you act, how your morals are, what do you believe is right and wrong. You can't really practice for it. You can't study for it. There's no idea there. You can watch some videos and see how it's conducted so you're prepared for it. We can certainly have somebody come and talk towards the end of the application cohort cycle about CASPER. Some of the students who are in the application process right now have already taken it, and I could bring in those students to have you learn a little bit more about what those are. I also listed another one. There's a couple of school-based ones that are situational judgment tests, and those are ones that you'll have to consider as well. So, registering and paying for it. The first thing that you should do, no matter where you are financially, is go apply for a fee assistance program. Many of the fee assistance programs to date are actually looking at 4 times recovery rate now. That's a huge difference than what it was a year ago when it was 2 times recovery rate. So they are looking at those things. Example, I can give you medicine. They have a fee assistance program. Before you register for the MCAT, you should do this, okay? You get 20 free schools for medical schools for MD. The DO branch also does a fee assistance program, so you can apply for that as well. But the fee assistance program gets you a reduced cost on your MCAT. So instead of it being $325, it's $165. That's a huge difference, right? not only do you get the 20 free schools, the reduced cost on your MCAT, but you can get a discount on the resources available to you to take the test. So the AAMC practice exam bundles, for example, the question packs, those come at a reduced cost, and you get a free access to the MSAR, which is the Medical School Admissions Requirement Book. That's $26. It's not too bad, but still, it's nice to get a freebie on that one. In terms of the DAT, there is a fee assistance program. It is on a same policy. It's 4 times the poverty rate. Here's the kicker. They only have so many of them. So if you don't apply early to them, you're not going to get it. The MCAT one, the MD one is 2 years, lasts for 2 years. I believe the DAT one lasts for 1. There are other testing. The GRE does have fee waivers as well, but again, there's only a certain amount of them that they give out. And so once they get them all out, they don't have any more. When it comes to things like the OAT, it's the same deal. So those are just some things to be keeping in mind. Fee assistance should be the first thing you do. You're ready to register for your test, do your fee assistance. If you are not sure exactly when you're going to take your test, but you know you're going to take it in this cycle, apply for fee assistance. This is good for 2 years usually, or 1. Okay. All right, so to do this one, give me a second. Okay. Sad mad, y'all. Did you just see what I did? Oh, sad mad. So sad mad. Well, and I forgot to hit the little button that says to do it for 7 days on this computer. So sad on so many levels. All good though, don't write on. Okay. All right. So it looks to me, based off of the group, the rooms, that we have one student in the Zoom room who's DAT. And so I'm going to put that one in the chat first, Aiden. And then I'm going to have you go watch the video in the quiet of your own Zoom room. And then the MCAT folks, I'm going to send it to you. You can watch it on your own computer with your mute off. That's fine. I just want your question about the income. I believe it's yours and your parents, but it depends on your age as well. Great question. Great question, Nick. So it's based off of your income and taxes and things like that. Okay, so this one is the DAT. And you can watch these at 1.5 minutes if you want to turbo through them. I know I'm kind of dry. And I just realized they sent Aiden, I'm sorry, I'm going to send it directly to you. Okay, so I'm going to put you in your breakout rooms just so that we don't have noise going on by some stretch of the imagination for one reason or another. So the MCAT one takes a little bit longer, and that's why I'm saying you can turbo through them. The key is getting the gist of some of the nuts and bolts, and we'll go over some of this, okay? So hop in there. You can come back out if you're done watching it. All right. We're gonna do All right, but the cool thing about the recordings is that it's still going to pick up all of mine, should pick up all my transcript text. So thank you for noticing that. All right, step 3. So now we've established that we can pay for it, right? And we also understand that everybody's different in regards to dates and how they can apply for it and register for it. And so those videos build off of that. So when to take the test, first and foremost. Don't take the test without the content. Don't take the test without the content. Yeah, sure. I know you're all really smart cookies, but these are really big deals. And if you're missing something, if you've never touched organic chemistry in your life and it's on the test, oh my goodness, ouch, that's gonna kill you. That's gonna hurt. That's gonna make the studying process painful. So when you're determining when you take the test, ask yourself or ask your academic advisor, have I covered the content? What do you know? Your advisor knows exactly what's on the tests. So I at least know which courses you need to cover before you should try and take it. There are also recommended courses that a lot of your previous peers have said, hey, you probably should have this before you take it. For the DAT, for example, a lot of people say anatomy and physiology is helpful on the DAT. So is genetics and cell bio. For the MCAT, same thing. Cell bio, genetics, those are nice. They're not actually content that's on the test. They can be nice benefits for you to have. Okay? Ask yourself when you're applying. No, you shouldn't take your DAT, your MCAT, your PA, your GRE if you're not applying this cycle. Why? Well, most of these tests are only good for 3 years. So you have 3 cycles. So if you take it too early, you're only going to be able to run it through 2 cycles before you have to take it again. I don't want you to take a 7.5-hour test, that's the MCAT, or a DAT for 4 hours and have to take it again. That sucks. I don't want that for you. I also want you to think about being successful the first time you take the test. So giving yourself enough time to study for the test and giving yourself enough time to be successful in your application process. It's a balancing act. It's a teeter-totter between, I want to take my test early, but I also want to take my test and do it right. Okay, so it's in between those things. How does the application process work? Well, the application process works like this. An application opens. For dental and med, it opens the first week of May. Second week of May, usually for dental. For PA, it's April, late April. For PT, OT, it's July. Okay, so the application opens. You start putting stuff into it. Can't submit yet though. That's not until the end of May or June 2nd for dent. Okay. For PA, it's 3 weeks after the application opens, as soon as you can submit. For PT and OT, it's 3 weeks after the opening of the submission. Well, this application that you want to submit goes through a process. It goes through a verification process. It takes your official transcripts you sent to the application service, and it takes the college work you entered, hopefully manually. I suggest manually, okay? And it matches and make sure that you're honest, that they are the same things. And that process takes 10 to 15 business days, okay? So application cycles are year-long, May to sometimes that June. So the services, the centralized application services and the schools work out a deal. Say, hey, you know what? We really want to make sure that we put to bed our cycle before and we start this cycle right. So there's a window when nobody gets a single application. For medical, that's usually the end of June. For dent, that's usually the middle of June. Because as soon as the school can get anything, okay? For some of the others, it's 10 to 15 business days after you submit. The cycle goes into effect and schools can start getting information. Why is this important? Well, because you have 2 strategies at your disposal. Strategy number 1, you can wait for your score. MCATs take 35 days. DATs, you get your raw score the day you take the test. Okay? the benefits of that are you know exactly what you just scored, right? Here's the drawbacks. Well, if you rushed it because you were like, I have to be early, I have to submit an application on June 2nd, and you didn't study enough, you're gonna have to retake the test, right? And that's fine. And so some students will plan or orchestrate an idea that will work with that benefit, okay? There is no right or wrong strategy here. You're not going to get your academic advisor going, oh, shame on you, you wanted to do that. No, you do what's best for you, okay? So for medical schools and dental schools, there's this thing called early decision. I'm going to say this on natural recording. It's dumb. Why is it dumb? Well, you can only apply to one school. So if you want to do early decision, you apply to one school, your dream school, the school you want to go to, and they hold your application and they work on it. And you cannot apply to any other school until they release it, until they say, nope, we don't want you anymore, or yes, we do. Okay? That seems really risky. That seems like terrifying, right? The deadline for early decision for dental and med is August 2nd. I just give you a window, May to August. Anything in that zone is early. So if you submit your application on July 15th, still early. If you submit your application on May 28th, that's the earliest. Yes, good for you. Well, schools aren't getting any of the information until later, okay? So don't feel rushed. Do this right. So that's option one, right? So you're like, okay, I want my scoring, so I'm going to take my test a little earlier so I can be in that early zone. That means you need to put in the time to study for it, okay? But it can help you decide when you take the test. In the case of the MCAT, okay, I need 35 days to get my score, so I'm going to put my test on this date, okay? Second strategy, it's actually a pretty good one, pretty cool. You can actually submit your application, to one school before you have your score. Now you're all going, that sounds terrifying. I don't want to do that. Well, here's the cool part. You get practice exams, whether you're doing dentistry, the DAT or the MCAT, whether you're doing your GRE or not, you're going to take practice exams. The double AMC practice exams on the MCAT website are the real deal. They're awesome. 9 out of 10 students that took the double AMC practice exam last year, a week before their exam, scored almost the same score or 2 or 3 points difference. So they're excellent gaugers. Hey, I'm doing this. I feel confident that I'm going to be able to study a little bit more and I'm going to get my score up. So I'm going to submit to that one school. What does that do for me? Well, it gives you the freedom to let your application go through the verification process without your MCAT score. The medical school won't do anything with it until they get your score. But you get your score back 35 days later, right? And it's awesome. It's exactly what you hope for. Well, you don't have to wait 10 to 15 business days. Now all you gotta do is go in and out the rest of your schools and bam, the minute you pay for it, it goes pew, 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 all to all those schools. That's pretty cool. Same for the DAT. You can submit early to a school to get it in the mix. Now it carries some risk, sure. And at the end of the day, that strategy is going to carry the same amount of risk as the other one, except for your application is going to be in earlier. Okay, because if let's say you take the test and you waited for your score and it wasn't what you wanted, now you have a decision to make. Do I try and take it this cycle or do I need to wait? And there's nothing wrong with waiting. Nothing. Okay. There's no time commitment here in terms of the world will come to a cataclysmic end if your score isn't what you wanted. You still have plenty of your life to make this work. Okay. I have lots of students who took it in July, didn't get the score they wanted, and waited until March of the following year, took it again, and bam, beautiful score. Applications more ready, they're ready. All of this is good things. Okay. So you have 2 strategies at your disposal. These help you organize or make a decision about when you should take your test. I'm a big fan of June. I am a very cautious advisor. I know you think you're all great multitaskers. You're not. I'm not. I'm the first one to admit it. I get 5 balls in the air and 4 of them fall flat on the ground, right? You want your grades to be awesome. If you're going to be in the middle of school, it's going to be really hard for you to dedicate an enormous amount of time to study. But here's the cool part. The last week of the week of finals is the first week of May. Hopefully you got everything in the bag, right? And how many of you had instructors who do the final study? And then you don't do a final. Well, that's an extra week. There's 3 weeks in May. There's 4 in June. That's 7 weeks. 7 weeks that you could put all your effort into. So you wouldn't be in classes at the same time. Okay, some of you are applying before you graduate. Hey, hopefully you're smart. You don't put it in your summer, right? Or you put it towards the end of the summer so that you can work on the MCAT or the DAT or the GRE or whatever it is. Okay, and your advisor can help you figure out what's going to be best for you. Okay, so this is information for you to think about. How many days do you need to sign up for it? 90 days for the DAT. For the MCAT, you shouldn't sign up for it 10 days before you have to take it. That's bad, because you're going to risk losing a spot at that point. Okay, so keep that in mind. How much time do you need to be a content reviewer? Think about how you're a learner. How much time are you going to need to review all the content, to study, to practice? How many practice exams are you going to need to take? Ask yourself those questions, okay? Step number 2. How the heck do I do this, Erin? Well, you have a couple of options. Option number 1, self-study. It's probably a little bit more cost effective than purchasing a course. Some of these courses run anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500. I get that that's expensive, I do. But some of you are very organized folks. You know how you have the time to organize. You have the time to sit down and be like, okay, I can do this week, this week, and this next week. And you're motivated. You are not a procrastinator. I am not one of these people. I made the mistake. I took the GRE and I studied, but I self-studied. I probably should have a course. Probably should have. Because it wasn't that I wasn't motivated. It was just I had so many other things on my plate that I didn't have time to actually plan it all out and figure it out. But you should treat it like a course. And you should give yourself at least 8 to 12 weeks. Somewhere between 320 to 480 hours of dedicated time. Now, could you spread those out over 16 weeks? Sure, you could. But you want to spread out 480 hours, right? And you want a good chunk of time, like 2 or 3 weeks, and that's all you're doing, right? So your head's in the game, you're practicing, you're sitting in a situation that would be very similar to sitting at the testing center. So there are some benefits to a course, for sure. Structure, okay? Tutoring, okay? Multiple practice exams. They use the double ANC practice exams for med, for that. They use practice exams administered by the testing centers. It's a set schedule that's already created for you. It's also an investment, right? Oh, I just put $2,500 down and use it, right? And it creates motivation. Sometimes, right? So you have to ask yourself, so you need to find out, are you a self-studier or do you need a course? So I'm going to skip that. Is that okay if I skip the group discussion? We're going to go there. All right. So what to study? I'll be honest with you. I don't think there is a right or a wrong. I don't think that Kaplan is better than Princeton Review. I don't think Blueprint is better than Exam Crackers. I don't think DAT Bootcamp is better than DAT Booster. No. Here's what I would say. You know what type of learner you are. So here's the cool part. We have a free of charge learning library. Shannon and I are here from 9 to 3 for me and 9 to 5 most days. And the learning library is right across the hall from where we are right now. Okay, it's right next to our office. You can check out an exam cracker. Check it out for a weekend. Bring it back. Say I want the other one, want a subject from Blueprint, and compare and contrast. Like, oh, this is how this one does it, and this is how this one does it. This one makes more sense than the other one. So we have GRE, we have Kaplan for GRE and Pursuit Review. The MCAT ones, we have Kaplan, Pursuit Review will be here by the end of the week. I'd buy it. Blueprint, we have already in exam crackers, we have as well. Some of our students will actually a la carte. So if they're going to self-study, maybe they get verbal reasoning for exam crackers or CARs for exam crackers, and then they use Kaplan for the others. There's nothing wrong with that. That works for me. Some of you, it's been 4 years since you took general psychology, and the MCAT covers 59 questions of behavioral sciences. So guess who saved your Psych 101 book? I did, for you, so you can check it out, okay? So there's lots of cool stuff for you to check out in our lending library. There are other resources available to you as well. Khan Academy. Keep in mind, Khan Academy is focusing more on secondary learning now instead of post-secondary. So they won't necessarily update anything. But I hear on the grapevine that might be a different scenario in a couple months. But there's 1,800 MCAT review videos and over 3,000 questions. Free. Free stuff is awesome. Okay, all of these websites have free stuff. If you're scared about them gunking up and messing with your Boise State email, make a dummy email. Make a Gmail account or a Yahoo account, whatever you want to use, that is going to put all that stuff in there. Okay. Blueprint, while it's not my favorite, has some really great free resources. They have flashcards for free, like 180 flashcards. They actually have a questionnaire you can fill out and get a planned schedule for the MCAT. Testing sites, so like the IIMC has a whole set of study materials I strongly recommend. The DAT does as well. GRE has free practice exams. Anywhere you can get it. Fellow classmates, ask around. Oh, you took the MCAT last year. Do you need your books anymore? How did it go? What did you learn in them? But again, don't just take them from them and be like, this is possible. This is the best thing ever. Okay? Because one of our students last year, she got some Kaplan books from her classmate, and she doesn't learn the same way that her classmate does. And the minute I plunked exam crackers in front of her, she went out and bought exam crackers and she pushed her points up 12 whole points. So it was a difference. It doesn't mean that exam crackers is better than Kaplan. It just was for her. Okay. The library. Oh, the library has free stuff too. You can borrow them. Barnes and Noble. Go to Thanksgiving break. To the Barnes and Noble. Sit down in the testing section. This is Princeton Review and this is Kaplan. Borrow one of our books. You can do any of those things. Okay. There are free apps. There's question of the days for the MCAT, the GRE, the DAT. There's apps for tools. DAT Bootcamp actually lets you play with the free app. You don't have to actually purchase DAT Bootcamp to do it. It's pretty cool. Questions so far before I go into final tips and resources? Yes.
So for the lending library, we can just stop by and ask about that.
Yeah, you do need to connect with Shannon and I so that we can make sure we know which book you took and we can hunt you down.
Okay. Can we just come in and ask them, or should I send you an email first?
Let us know so that we can make sure that one of us is there. Just because I know that the other staff would know and we would say, hey, we have somebody coming in from the lending library. But just let us know to say, hey, I think I'm going to stop by to check out the lending library. And then just make sure you interrupt one of us and say, hey, I think I'm going to have this book, and then we can take it down with your information. We have a little checkout sheet. It just helps us keep track, just because I've lost a couple of exam crackers because I wasn't very good at keeping track last year during COVID. So I'm not sure who has them. But we have 3 exam cracker sets. We have 3 Kaplan. We'll have 1 Princeton Review and 1 Blueprint right now. So that's my goal. So any questions from the Zoom room? You can put them in chat. You can raise your hand. Yeah.
In your experience, have you seen any measurable advantage from early decision?
No. Because I really don't want you to do it.
But I
Because
understand that the risk obviously associated, but I mean, is
Well, let me give you an example of a really bad decision by a student that we had to save their soul. So the question was about early decision. What's the metrics on, is it a good idea or a bad idea? So here's the deal. So he was like super duper excited for the University of New Mexico. She's like, I'm going to University of New Mexico Medical College. That's his goal. Like, he loved the school. He wasn't from New Mexico. And they only accept 5% of the states. He put his application in early decision, didn't tell me, and no problem. And then we were kind of asking how his application was going. And we freaked out and we immediately called University of Mexico and begged and pleaded, and they released his application. Because he couldn't apply anywhere. So you would have to have, it would have to be the, like, all the stars were aligned for you to be really, really, it to be a good idea. And there's nothing that says that there will be. You know, some students are like, oh, I'm an Idaho resident, I should apply to UW, I'll do early decision. And it's like, dude, like, they may not pick you. You know, because they look at a lot of other metrics too. And so you want to increase your chances by applying to multiple schools. The question that was asked in the chat was, the MCAT is 7.5 hours straight through, and the answer is no. There are 30-minute breaks in between two of each. There's like some breaks and a lunch. You can power through it. Should you? No. No, no, no. Take the breaks. Take them. Okay. Your brain needs a chance. And then there is some surveys and some statistical questionnaires and things you have to fill out. So you will sit there for 7.5 hours, but you will get up and move around during breaks. Yes. There is no, it's 4.5 hours a week. And there are breaks. And the GRE is 3.5. And there's no breaks. Okay. So I hope that answered your question, Jill. And Nick, you have your hand raised. What's up?
Yeah, I had a question about the MCAT, scheduling the MCAT. I was doing some reading and they were saying, or at least some of the things that I had read was, you might consider doing it earlier because, you know, following the MCAT, you still need to prepare your primary and secondary applications, which from my understanding, those are a pretty good chunk of time as well, which, you know, trying to do both the MCAT and preparing the applications at the same time might be a challenging task. So they were saying to do it sequentially, one then the other, and doing it earlier so you would have time to do the applications without, you know, having a late application.
So I've had it both ways. I think it's preference. I think it's individualized to the student. Most of the students, I'd say 65 to 70% of the students are studying for the MCAT and completing their application for their primary application at the same time. The secondaries don't come until after you've submitted your application, and they might still be within your MCAT timeframe, but very rarely, right? Because hopefully you have your score before you submit to the rest of your schools and you start going at your secondaries. If you follow through with my plan that I've set up for you in terms of figuring out when you're going to take it, working on your experiences and getting a list now, and then working on your personal statement in February and March, then you might actually have everything ready to go. And all you're doing is the minuscule things like filling in coursework. And you're using those break. Your brain cannot study for 8 hours a day without a break. So you use it to reset your brain. But some students have taken their study for their MCAT, taken their MCAT, and then start working on their application. Absolutely. Yes.
Is the primary application, does it have like essays and stuff as well? Or is the primary application just like filling out boxes and then your secondary application?
Great question. So Cassie asked, is the primary application composed of essays? Well, yes, your personal statement and every experience you fill out, you get 600 characters, actually 700 for MD, 700 characters with spaces, plus 3 most meaningful that you get 1325 more to go through. And they aren't job descriptions. They're meant to be very reflective. And so we start you on those in February. We say, hey, now you got your list of what you're going to put in that application. Now we're going to start writing about it.
So if you already have that, then you're just putting it on.
Yeah, you're putting it in there, right? You're filling in the blanks, you're copying and pasting and putting those things in there. Yes, Cassie. So you can't start putting anything in until May. It doesn't mean you can't put stuff in Word and start to fill out, start to figure it out, right? You can have your personal statement all ready to go before it turns on. Okay, so again, the application cohort model that I sent you, and I will resend it, it'll come every single time we do a cohort meeting, states that you have fall to work on some things and spring to work on some things. You can do a lot of the legwork ahead of time, but I will be honest, I can only go for about 50 minutes and then I'm like, I'm done, okay? So if I do 50 minutes of chemistry and I put it down and I go onto the application and I fill in 2 semesters of college work, my brain's already ready to go for bio. Okay, so you can use your time wisely. You can do it together, but you can also do it apart. I think it's a personal choice, Nick. I really think you have to do what works best for you.
Okay, thank you.
The earliest it goes to schools is June 28th-ish. DO schools, it's a little earlier by about a week. Dental schools, the application loads up and is ready to go 10, 15 business days after June 2nd. Yes, Cassie. I think you should have a list. Now, are you going to do some more in the spring? Yes. Next time we have cohort meeting, I'm going to work with you all on your experiences. We are going to we're going to hash it out. We're going to be like, wait, that's an experience? Oh, that's an experience. You're going to be so tired of me when we get done. You're going to be like, I had no idea I did so many things, because you don't think outside the box like I do. I do. I'm like, oh, did you do this? Oh, you're a Yu-Gi-Oh referee? Awesome. That should be on your application. Okay. When did you say the earliest applications are released? For medical schools, it's June 28th-ish. We don't have the new dates yet. We don't have those till April. But I have my experience over the last 14 years and the dates that worked for this last year. And they're pretty close. They're pretty accurate. All right. Awesome sauce, guys. Have your materials figured out by Thanksgiving. If you do that, that's Black Friday. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, Santa, your trusty academic advisor. I really want to buy this. Don't get me a car. Don't get me a vacation trip. Don't buy me a plane ticket. I know. Okay? I say holiday presents, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, okay? However you get gifts during the holiday season, set yourself a goal. January 1st, you buy it. You buy your course, you buy your materials, you know who you're borrowing from, you know which free documents you're using. That's a lot of time. We have a month before Thanksgiving. That's a month for you to check out my books. That's a month for you to go to Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
Do these courses and stuff get updated? Like, if you don't know when you're gonna take it, you just go ahead.
So the MCAT has not changed since 2015 and the DAT hasn't changed. Ever. I think they went from paper to electronic. They really haven't changed it. So, I mean, in the last 5 years, if you find old material in the last 5 years,
That's good.
yeah. Take a practice exam. Just fun. Set a date. Say, okay, the Saturday before school starts, I'm going to sit down for 7.5 hours and take the MCAT. I'm going to take the DAT before, but do it full on. Just do the whole thing. Use that practice exam as content review, because you're going to review both the questions you got right and the questions you got wrong. Not just the questions you got wrong. You're going to ask the following questions. Why did I get it wrong? Did I guess? Did I just guess wrong? Or did I really not know what the heck the answer was? The answer you got right. Did I get them right because I guessed? shame on me. Or because there's a risk there, right? If you don't guess right the next time, then screw. And did you get them right because you really truly knew the answer? You really thought it through. That can take, for the MCAT, 14 hours. Okay? For the DAT, 8. So double it. Okay? So set yourself a goal of, I'm going to take one. So I'm going to see where I'm at right now. I've had students who scored really high the first time they took it, and they're like, all right. Maybe when I took Erin's advice and I took the content before I tried to take the test, I'm not too bad. I still need to study, but maybe I feel really good. And other times you're like, oh, Milan, what have I done? I need like 6 months, right? And that can change your timeline too. Make a plan. If someone orchestrated the plan for you in a course, cool. Make a plan. Come up with some study hours. Think about it this way. For every 1 credit you're in class, you're going to study in class 1 hour and 2 to 3 hours outside class. So if you decided, hey, you know what, maybe spring semester I'm only going to take 12 credits, but I've been taking 16. Maybe you're going to use 4 hours, say for the MCAT, and 8 hours extra to study the components of the MCAT too. You can manage that. You can, because you've been managing 16, but you have to stick to it. So you make that plan. You decide, is that what I'm going to do? Spring break's a good starting place to go, maybe I'm going to up that a little bit. Maybe I'm going to make that a little bit extra because things are going really good for school. But never let your grades falter because you're trying to study for your test. That's a bad idea. Have a plan. Have a plan. Please plan. Don't wing it. Stick to your plan. Oh, I got a job and now I don't make a new plan. Give yourself a break. In other words, don't try and study for 8 hours. You can't do that. You're a human. 50 minutes. That's it. 50 minutes and nothing is going to be retained and nothing's going to be gained. You need to take care of you. Good sleep habits. Yes. Hey, you're going to need those when you go to medical school too. So might as well start now. So you need to give yourself 8 to 10 hours of sleep. You need to figure it out. Okay. Don't try and study into the wee hours of the night thinking you're going to be successful. But also think about when you do study, when your energy is highest. Are you a morning person or an afternoon person or a night person? I am very much a morning person. You are human. You cannot lift it all up. You can't be going and doing experience, studying for the test, and trying to take 18 credits and working 40 hours a week and trying to volunteer. No. Okay. So come up with a plan that makes the most sense to you. You can use some really great tools that are very organic. CARS, verbal reasoning, reading comprehension. The word of the day. That's kind of fun. How many of you own an Echo? I have one. I love it. I'm like, hey, Alexa, tell me the word of the day. It gives me a word. I did not ask it today. So yesterday was abuse. And it gives you the definition, it gives you how to use it in a sentence, and then I try to use it in a sentence. It's kind of fun with my kids, so it's like, what are you doing, Mom? Read an article from the Wall Street Journal. You can get a free access to the Wall Street Journal from the Boise State Library website. Read an article. Ask yourself, are there words in there? I have no idea what they mean. Maybe I need to look them up. Can you ask yourself objective questions from that article, like to help you understand it better, right? Do the same thing with your textbooks. Pick a classic. Read for like 10 minutes. I'm a crazy reader, so I won't use me as an example because I have a habit of not sleeping and reading instead of actually doing what I need to. She can tell you I usually read about 6 books a week. So I read a lot. I also listen to audiobooks too, but pick up a classic like a Hemingway novel or something that like you wouldn't have never touched before, or a bestseller novel, and ask yourself, okay, how am I on my reading comprehension abilities? Alex or SAT for math for the GRE The GRE is algebra related. The DAT is algebra related. Alex is a good way to keep fresh. Finding analytical prompts and putting them in a jar and trying to write them once a week or once a day, right? Like pick one up and you're like, okay, what is this one? How would I construct it? You only get 15 minutes. Question of the day. So the GRE has one, the MCAT has one. There's different groups. You can just search in your Play Store, your Apple iPhone, and you can be like, question of the day for the MCAT. You can get one every day. And you can just do it. Take 5-10 minutes, try and solve one problem instead of trying to solve 59 questions each section. Those are cool. You can do it while you're getting in line and watch a movie. You're getting in line and watch a football game. I love making flashcards with Anki, and that's what I would do. I'd stand in line, and while I was waiting for my football ticket, I'd sit there and I'd do the flashcards. You can download the electronic flashcards from AAC. Those you do have to pay for those, but you can do that. Okay. Questions? We are at time, so I want to be mindful of that, but I want to answer questions. Poof, brain hurt now? Yeah, we went 60 minutes, so our brain is now fried. So here's the cool part. You can set up an advisory appointment with me. It's a little hard right now because of registration, so it'd only be 30 minutes. You wouldn't get a full hour, but you can set those up. If you have a quick question, you can join us at drop-ins. You can email me and I can send that information to you. You can set up something for after the season's over, right around Thanksgiving. Please come to application cohort. And then also, just so you know, there's lots of programming going on. If you're not reading my newsletter, shame on you, because there's tons of information that Shannon and I have put in that is for you, okay? And it only comes out once every 2 weeks. And I was really nice to you and I didn't send it out for like 3 weeks last night. It's not busy. There are lots of alumni spotlights and pathway spotlights and all of that stuff. And so even if you're like, oh, I forgot to read that, go back and look and see if there's something there for you. Okay, thank you so much for tonight. If you have any, I'll stick around until everybody's kind of out of the Zoom room. I'm going to stop recording